Every motorcycle video you have ever watched starts the exact same way. A beautiful machine sits in golden hour light. An open road disappears into the distant mountains. The imagery makes your chest tighten with a feeling that resembles absolute freedom. Nobody talks about tire replacement schedules. Nobody talks about the strict physical reality when you drop a heavy motorcycle in a local parking lot at 63 years of age. Nobody talks about the true cost of quality riding gear when you purchase it correctly. That specific conversation does not get views, but it is the exact conversation you deserve to have before you spend a single dollar. Today, we are having that conversation. Chapter 1. The conversation nobody has. Here is what the motorcycle industry executes with absolute perfection, selling you the feeling. The advertisements show you the wind, the camaraderie, the version of yourself that exists on two wheels somewhere between who you have been and who you still intend to be. And for riders over 60, that feeling carries something even more specific. It carries the heavy weight of decades of responsible decisions. The mortgages paid, the careers built, the children raised. The motorcycle is not just standard transportation. It is a declaration, a statement that says there is still road ahead and you intend to ride it. That feeling is real, it is valid, it deserves to be honored completely, and it is precisely because it deserves to be honored that someone needs to sit across from you and give you the full, unvarnished picture. Not the glossy brochure version, not the internet forum version where everyone is either completely for it or completely against it. We need the honest version, the version that helps you make a decision you will not regret in 2 years when the bike is listed on a classified site at a significant financial loss because it was never the right fit to begin with. Chapter 2. The Purchase Cost Iceberg. Most people looking at a motorcycle focus on the number on the price tag. Let us say $10,000. That is a reasonable mid-range budget for a solid used or entry-level new machine. It buys you a Honda CB500X, a Kawasaki Vulcan S, or a Yamaha V-Star 1100. These are highly capable, reliable machines that will serve a rider over 60 genuinely well. But that $10,000 is not what you are going to spend. It is where the spending begins. The dealer fees on a new motorcycle represent a category where dealerships have become extraordinarily creative. You face documentation fees, destination charges, setup fees, and dealer preparation charges. On a $10,000 motorcycle, you must budget between $500 and $1,200 in dealer fees, depending on your specific state and the individual dealership. Some of these fees are negotiable. Most dealers will tell you they are firm. The documentation fee almost never changes. The setup fee often has negotiation room. Taxes and registration vary by state, but on a $10,000 purchase, you must budget between $800 and $1,500 for state taxes. You must add between $150 and $300 for registration and title fees. In high-tax states like California or New York, the combined tax and fee burden can easily approach $2,000 on a $10,000 machine. First-year insurance is where the calculation gets specific and important for riders over 60. The good news is that age alone does not penalize you the way it might with automobile insurance. Insurers look at your riding history, your accident record, your annual mileage estimate, and the specific type of machine you are insuring. A rider over 60 with a clean record insuring a mid-range cruiser or standard motorcycle in most states will pay between $400 and $900 annually. This policy includes collision, comprehensive, and liability coverage at reasonable limits. If you are insuring a high-performance sport bike or a premium adventure touring machine above $15,000 in value, that figure climbs to between $800 and $1,600 annually. If you have a gap in your riding history of more than 5 years, insurers treat you similarly to a brand new rider for the first policy year. This pushes premiums toward the higher end of these ranges. Gear is the category where the biggest financial mistake happens most consistently. The mistake is buying cheap gear once and replacing it repeatedly, rather than buying quality gear once and wearing it for a decade. A quality helmet costs between $350 and $600. Quality means DOT and ECE rated from a reputable manufacturer, not a cheap fashion helmet designed to look good in photographs. Brands like Shoei, Arai, Bell, and AGV offer helmets in this range that provide genuine structural protection and comfort on long rides. A quality riding jacket with CE Level 2 armor at the shoulders, elbows, and back costs between $300 and $600. For riders over 60, a jacket with an integrated rigid back protector, rather than a cheap foam pad insert, is worth the additional cost. The back is statistically the most significant injury point in low-speed falls. Quality gloves with hard knuckle protection cost between $80 and $180. Do not skip the knuckle protection. The instinctive human response to a fall at any speed is to put your hands down first. Quality riding boots with solid steel shank ankle support and oil-resistant soles cost between $150 and $350. Motorcycle-specific boots look increasingly like regular footwear and carry none of the style compromise that kept older riders in inappropriate footwear for decades. Immediate modifications form the final purchase period cost category. For riders over 60, these modifications are frequently necessary rather than optional. A lower seat height or a mechanical lowering link kit for a bike that is slightly too tall runs between $150 and $400 installed. Highway pegs for long-distance leg comfort run between $80 and $200. A taller or more protective polycarbonate windscreen runs between $150 and $300. Heated grips run between $100 and $200 installed. These grips are not a luxury for older riders with circulation concerns. They are a strict safety requirement to maintain hand dexterity and brake control in cold weather. Adding it all together, a $10,000 motorcycle purchased new with dealer fees, taxes, registration, quality gear for one rider, first-year insurance, and 3 common comfort modifications lands you at a total first-year cost of between $13,500 and $16,500. Not $10,000, never $10,000. This is not a reason to abandon your dream. It is a reason to budget honestly. You survived the dealership and bought the premium gear, but the financial output has only just begun. What happens when your high-performance machine starts consuming consumable parts at a rapid rate? The ongoing garage costs are exposed in Chapter 3. Chapter 3, the ongoing costs. The first-year costs are a one-time event. The ongoing maintenance costs represent the conversation that never ends. They are also the costs that most riders drastically underestimate when they calculate whether they can afford to own a motorcycle in retirement. Let us break them down by specific category and then examine 3 representative bike types. Insurance year over year for riders over 60 remains generally stable, provided your driving record stays clean. The primary factors that increase premiums are accident claims, adding coverage for expensive gear and accessories, or upgrading to a higher value motorcycle. In some states, reaching age 75 prompts certain insurers to apply age-related rate adjustments. Storing the bike during winter months and declaring a lower annual mileage can reduce premiums by 15 to 25%. A stored season declaration with documented calendar dates can save riders in northern states between $100 and $200 annually. Tires are the largest single recurring maintenance cost on most motorcycles and the one most consistently underestimated. A set of quality motorcycle tires costs between $250 and $500 for a pair. The dealership will charge an additional $60 to $120 for mounting and balancing the wheels. Quality tires represent the only contact you have with the road. How long they last depends entirely on the bike weight, the specific rubber compound, your riding style, and the abrasive nature of the roads you ride. A heavy cruiser, ridden primarily on straight highways, will see a rear tire lifespan of between 8,000 and 14,000 miles. A heavier adventure tourer with aggressive cornering habits will consume soft compound rear tires in 6,000 to 9,000 miles. Budget 1 rear tire replacement per year for most riders doing between 4,000 and 8,000 annual miles. Oil changes on a modern motorcycle cost between $50 and $120 at an independent shop. If you perform the labor yourself, the parts cost between $30 and $60. Most motorcycles require an oil change every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, depending on the manufacturer's specification and whether you run conventional or full synthetic fluid. For a rider doing 5,000 miles annually, budget 2 oil changes per year. Chain maintenance and replacement applies to chain drive machines. This covers the vast majority of motorcycles outside of cruiser-specific belt drive models and heavy touring shaft drive models. Chain lubrication is a do-it-yourself task that costs about $10 in chemical chain lube every 1,000 miles. Chain and sprocket replacement becomes necessary when the metal chain stretches beyond its safe mechanical service limit. This runs between $150 and $350 for parts and labor combined. A properly maintained chain on a mid-range motorcycle lasts between 15,000 and 25,000 miles. Brake pads wear at a rate determined by your specific riding style and local terrain. A set of quality front and rear brake pads cost between $60 and $150 in parts. Plan for one complete replacement per 12,000 to 18,000 miles. Battery replacement is a cost that catches riders off guard because batteries fail on a strict schedule that ignores whether you are prepared for them. A standard motorcycle battery lasts between 3 and 5 years. Replacement costs between $60 and $150. If you store the motorcycle for winter months, a battery tender that maintains a constant trickle charge costs between $25 and $50. This small electronic device extends battery life significantly. We can estimate the annual cost by examining 3 distinct motorcycle categories. A budget cruiser in the $6,000 to $9,000 range, like a Honda Rebel 500 or a Kawasaki Vulcan S, costs between $800 and $1,300 annually in maintenance and insurance for a rider doing 5,000 miles per year. It is the most economical ongoing cost profile of any motorcycle category. A mid-range tourer in the $12,000 to $18,000 range, like an older Honda Goldwing, a Yamaha FJR 1300, or a BMW F850 GS, costs between $1,300 and $2,200 annually. The higher insurance value, larger tire sizes, and additional fluid service requirements on more complex machines drive the cost upward. A premium adventure bike in the $18,000 to $28,000 range, like a BMW R1200 GS or a KTM 1290. Super Adventure costs between $1,700 and $3,200 annually. Premium tires at premium prices, specialized service requirements, and higher insurance values combine to make this the most expensive ongoing cost category, despite being the most capable machine for older riders covering significant distance. Roadside assistance through a program like the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, affiliated plans, or through an add-on to your existing insurance costs between $40 and $90 annually. It is worth every single dollar. A single tow truck call from the side of a remote highway costs between $250 and $400 without coverage. Gear replacement on a quality purchase schedule runs approximately every 5 to 7 years for helmets, every 7 to 10 years for jackets and gloves in good condition, and every 8 to 12 years for boots. Budget roughly $200 annually on a rolling average for gear maintenance and replacement. The spreadsheets dictate a strict financial path, but numbers on a ledger cannot measure actual physical reality. What happens when your aging joints fail to support a massive touring machine at a complete standstill? The strict physical toll of gravity is revealed in Chapter 4. Chapter 4, the physical reality costs. This is the chapter that does not exist in any motorcycle ownership guide written by someone who wants to sell you something. It is also the chapter that will save you more money than any other section of this conversation. The physical reality of riding after 60 is not a reason to stop riding. It is not a reason to never start. It is a set of distinct mechanical factors that need to be honestly accounted for in your planning, your gear choices, your bike selection, and your budget. Let us discuss dropping the bike. The statistics on this are not flattering, and they are rarely discussed because discussing them feels like a personal accusation. It is not an accusation. It is basic physics and human biomechanics. Reaction times slow down measurably after 60. Balance compensation, the small automatic corrections your body makes continuously to stay upright, becomes less instantaneous. The direct result is that low-speed drops in parking lots, slow-speed tight turns, and foot placement errors at a stoplight are statistically more common for riders over 60 than for riders in their 30s. A low-speed drop on a 450-pound motorcycle causes cosmetic damage at minimum. You will face broken mirrors, scraped engine covers, bent clutch levers, and cracked plastic fairings. Budget between $300 and $800 for a cosmetic low-speed drop on a naked or cruiser-style machine. On a fully faired adventure, tourer or sport tourer, the exact same zero-speed drop costs between $800 and $2,500. The large plastic fairings that protect the internal mechanical components are the first things to contact the pavement, and they are highly expensive to replace. This is not a hypothetical scenario. For a returning rider or a new older adult rider, you must plan financially for one drop in the first 2 years of ownership. It is not pessimism, it is strict preparation. Protective gear requirements change as your riding style evolves. Riders over 60 tend to upgrade their protective gear over time toward more protection and more comfort rather than less. The progression is predictable and universal. You start with adequate standard gear. You ride for one season. You identify the specific discomforts. You feel wrist fatigue, lower back pressure, and hip soreness on long rides. You invest money in mechanical solutions, an electronic airbag vest, which deploys in a crash and reduces thoracic injury severity drastically, costs between $400 and $800. It is increasingly adopted by older riders who have assessed the physical risk calculus honestly. Ergonomic handlebar risers that reduce wrist and shoulder strain cost between $80 and $200. A quality seat pad or custom aftermarket seat for longer rides cost between $150 and $400. Riding courses are one of the best investments an older rider can make and one of the most consistently undervalued. The Motorcycle Safety Foundation Basic Rider Course costs between $250 and $350. The Advanced Rider Course costs between $200 and $300. For a returning rider who has not been on a motorcycle in 10 or 15 years, a structured refresher course is not optional safety theater. It is a genuine, vital recalibration of instincts and physical skills that directly reduces the probability of the drops and incidents described above. In some states, completing a recognized course reduces your insurance premium by between 5 and 15% annually. Over 5 years, that insurance discount can return the initial cost of the course entirely. Adaptations for comfort and mechanical control are the physical reality costs that no one budgets for in advance, but almost every older rider eventually encounters. Throttle assist devices for riders with arthritic hands reduce grip fatigue on long highway rides. These cost between $30 and $80. Lowering links that reduce the seat height for shorter inseams cost between $150 and $300. Handlebar end weights that reduce vibration-related hand numbness cost between $40 and $90. A modified clutch lever that requires less pull force is available as an aftermarket part on most popular platforms. This costs between $60 and $150 installed. Medical and recovery costs from minor incidents represent the most uncomfortable topic in this entire chapter. They are also the most important to acknowledge. A low-speed fall that results in a bruised hip or a sprained wrist is a $300 to $800 event in physical therapy and medical evaluation costs, even with health insurance covering the majority. It is also potentially a 2 to 4 week reduction in your daily mobility that affects work and personal life. This is not a reason to avoid motorcycles. It is a reason to ride with the absolute best possible gear, the best possible training, and the most honest possible assessment of your physical condition on any given day. Are you tired of dealerships hiding the physical reality of heavy motorcycles? Hit that subscribe button and like this video right now. We are building an army of educated riders who refuse to pay the hidden costs of unprepared riding. Do not get scammed. You armored your motorcycle and protected your spine, but there is an invisible enemy waiting to steal your joy. Why do so many older riders sell their dream bikes at a massive loss after just 2 years? The hidden psychological trap sits in Chapter 5. Chapter 5, the hidden opportunity costs. These are the costs that never appear on any standard balance sheet. They are real, they are significant, and they are the exact reason many riders sell their motorcycles within 2 years of purchase at a loss that erases any enjoyment the riding provided. The time cost of self-maintenance is a massive factor. Many riders over 60 come to the hobby with decades of mechanical confidence. They change their own oil, adjust their own drive chain, and balance their own tires. This is genuinely valuable and can reduce annual maintenance costs by between $300 and $600. It also costs time. An oil change and filter replacement on a modern motorcycle takes between 45 minutes and 2 hours depending on the bike and your specific workshop setup. A basic chain adjustment takes 30 minutes. A major valve clearance check, which is required on many overhead cam engines every 12,000 to 16,000 miles, takes between 3 and 6 hours. The question is not whether the time is available in your retirement. The question is whether the time spent in the garage is enjoyable time or obligatory time. If it is enjoyable, the maintenance itself becomes part of the ownership experience. If it is obligatory, you are paying an invisible hourly rate to maintain a machine you would rather just ride. The social and travel costs of riding culture represent the expense that nobody warns you about because it feels like a distinct benefit. It is a benefit. Motorcycle rallies, group rides, organized tours, and destination travel form the social fabric of the riding community. They are also significant expenses. A regional rally weekend costs between $300 and $800 in registration, hotel accommodation, fuel, and food. A multi-day organized riding tour costs between $800 and $3,000 depending on duration and distance. Group rides have their own unique economics. The morning coffee stop, the midday lunch stop, and the afternoon fuel stop always involve a conversation that costs 1 hour and an overpriced cold sandwich. None of this is waste. All of it is the point of the hobby. But it belongs in the honest budget conversation because riders who account for it feel financially in control of their riding life, and riders who do not account for it feel gradually and mysteriously broke despite owning a paid-off motorcycle. The cost of the wrong bike is the hidden opportunity cost that carries the highest financial consequence. It is also the one that honest pre-purchase research can eliminate almost entirely. A motorcycle that is physically wrong for you will be sold within 2 years. If it is too heavy to manage confidently at low speeds, too tall to flat-foot at traffic stops, too powerful for the riding you actually do, or too sporty in ergonomics for your back and wrists, you will not ride it. It will be sold at a heavy loss. The financial loss on a motorcycle purchased brand new and sold within 2 years typically runs between 15 and 30% of the original purchase price. This is after accounting for steep depreciation, the specific gear you bought for it, and the unrecoverable dealer fees you paid to acquire it. On a $15,000 motorcycle, that is a direct cash loss of between $2,250 and $4,500. You pay this massive penalty just to learn a basic lesson that a longer test ride and an honest conversation with yourself could have prevented for free. The correct bike fits your exact inseam when seated with both feet able to touch the solid ground. It weighs less than 550 pounds if you are not physically confident managing heavier machines at parking lot speeds. It matches the riding you will actually do rather than the riding you imagine doing when you watch heavily edited adventure touring videos on the internet. The physical toll is heavy, the depreciation is steep, and the hidden logistical costs are everywhere. It sounds like an unwinnable situation designed to keep you off 2 wheels, but there is a flawless, proven strategy to beat the system entirely. The ultimate survival guide to maximizing your joy and protecting your savings sits in the final chapter. Chapter 6, How to Make It All Worth It. Everything in the previous 5 chapters exists to lead you directly here, because the honest truth about motorcycle ownership after 60 is not that it is too expensive, too risky, or too complicated. The honest truth is that done with clear eyes and smart, calculated decisions, it is one of the most rewarding and genuinely cost-effective recreational investments available to you in this chapter of your life. Here is exactly how to make every single dollar work correctly. Buy used and buy thoughtfully. The most financially intelligent motorcycle purchase for a rider over 60 is a machine that is between 3 and 6 years old. Look for a motorcycle with between 5,000 and 20,000 miles on the odometer, purchased directly from a private seller with a documented service history. The heaviest depreciation on that machine has already happened. Someone else absorbed the financial hit. You are buying a proven, sorted vehicle at between 55 and 70% of its original retail purchase price. A motorcycle that sold brand new for $14,000 3 years ago and has been maintained correctly is available to you today for between $8,000 and $10,000. It will serve you identically to the new version and cost you significantly less in insurance, registration, and that brutal first-year depreciation drop. Choose reliability over aspiration. The brands with the lowest long-term ownership costs in the categories relevant to older riders are Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki in the Japanese tier. BMW dominates the European tier for riders specifically interested in the premium adventure touring category. Honda offers the dual-clutch transmission known as DCT. This automatic transmission is available on the Goldwing, the Africa Twin, and the NC750X. It eliminates the manual clutch lever entirely. This technology is genuinely transformational for riders with hand strength concerns or those returning to riding after a long gap. A used Honda Africa Twin with DCT from 3 years ago costs between $9,000 and $12,000 on the private market. It represents arguably the most complete package of reliability, comfort, and capability available to an older rider at any price point. Invest in the right insurance structure. The most common insurance mistake older riders make is underinsuring the bike to reduce monthly premiums. They discover after a drop or a minor incident that the out-of-pocket repair costs exceed whatever premium savings they accumulated over 5 years. Carry comprehensive and collision coverage on any motorcycle worth over $5,000. Carry gear gear and accessories coverage if your riding kit represents more than $800 in value. The additional premium for this specific coverage typically runs between $60 and $150 annually. It is the absolute best value in the entire ownership cost structure. Buy gear once and buy it right. The 𝐏𝐄𝐑 helmet you buy for $450 will serve you flawlessly for 7 years if you do not drop it. The $45 helmet from a no-name internet brand will fail its own safety standard before it ever fails a crash test. Quality gear is not a luxury expenditure. It is the core component of your riding life where the savings from buying cheap are the most expensive savings you will ever make. Join a rider community before you buy. The cost of this action is zero. The value is immeasurable. Local riding clubs, online forums specific to the bikes you are considering, and Motorcycle Safety Foundation affiliated rider groups are full of riders over 60 who have already made every single mistake this video has described. They will tell you exactly which bikes proved wrong for their body and why. They will tell you exactly which insurers treated them fairly and which ones did not. They will tell you what they wish someone had told them before they bought the first bike, the wrong bike, and eventually the right bike. The final annual cost range for a well-managed ownership experience after 60 on a quality used mid-range motorcycle is between $2,300 and $4,200 per year. This includes your insurance, all scheduled maintenance, tires, gear replacement on a rolling average, roadside assistance, and a modest budget for the social costs of riding culture. It does not include fuel. On a motorcycle returning between 40 and 55 miles per gallon, fuel is the most favorable operating cost in the entire transportation category. Against that annual cost, you must measure what you receive. The physical benefit of sustained engagement with a skill-based activity is heavily documented in the medical research on cognitive aging. The social benefit of belonging to a community that shares a deep passion is documented in the research on loneliness and positive health outcomes for people over 60. The psychological benefit of having a horizon to ride toward is not in any research paper. A route planned, a destination chosen, a morning that belongs entirely to you in the open road. That benefit is visible in the faces of every single rider over 60 you have ever seen pull their helmet off at a fuel stop and look around at exactly where the road brought them. Done right, motorcycle ownership after 60 does not cost you money. It returns something that money can never fully buy. It returns the version of yourself that knows the road is still there and chooses every single week to get on it. That is worth every honest dollar we have discussed today. Every single one. But knowing how to budget for the right bike is only half the battle. You still need to know exactly which specific machines are built to survive and which ones will leave you stranded on the side of the highway waiting for an expensive tow truck. Click on the next video on your screen right now to uncover the best motorcycles that will save your knees, protect your wallet, and deliver endless miles of reliable freedom. Stay vigilant, and I will catch you over there.